In this lesson, I want to show you guys how I create white boxes for my assets. Here I got 3ds Max open, and before I start doing anything, I just want to show you my setup for 3ds Max. First thing, I always have modified sets here. So if I go configure modified sets, you can see that I added symmetry, shell, FFDs, turbo smooth, and UVs over here. It's just for shorter access. It really helps me out when I work. So if you go here again and click show buttons, now I can see them at all times. So now we got that out of the way. Before I start doing any white boxes, I always have a concept, but this time I drew one myself. So here's my little sketch here. It's basically just a little sort of castle ruin or something like that. So here I got my sketch, and the first thing I do when I look at the concept or sketch, I'll try to find the simple shapes to identify, like perfect squares or circles. So as you can see, those gutters here could be potentially a perfect circle, half circles, and these modular sort of floor pieces could be perfect squares. So I probably should start modeling my white box with those. Let's put this away. I always have my concept or sketch opened on the second monitor, or you can just print it out. It always helps when you always look at it. So let's start with the floor. First thing I want to do is just go on a plane here, and just gonna drag a plane out. I'll make it 100 by 100. I usually don't work to a grid, but when it's possible, it's always useful because you can snap easier and just workflow is slightly easier. So I'm just gonna click here, snap to grid points. Just gonna snap it in the middle here. Let's go top view. Here we go. So as you can see in my sketch here, I got 3 on this side and 3 on this side. So I'm just gonna duplicate those now. So 1, 2 here. And another cool trick when you duplicate is to just set number of copies to 2 and duplicates twice. Okay, so now we got these floorboards out of the way. I'm just gonna go in now and create the sidewalk that we have here. So I'm just gonna duplicate this here. Go to my top view, convert to editable poly. I'm just gonna delete these faces over here. And I'm just gonna hide the grid, and I'm gonna shell that by 10 units. So this is my curb. Just gonna convert this to editable poly, and now I'm not quite sure about the color of this, so just gonna add a perfect gray material over here to all the meshes I got. And usually what I do as well is I add a black wireframe. It just helps to make it like a bit cleaner. Just gonna duplicate those curbs now. Here we go. And the same goes for this side as well. Just holding shift and drag to duplicate. It's gonna go snap angle over here and rotate it perfect 90 degrees. Snap it to the grid here. Duplicate it a few times. Here we go. At this point, I'm not looking at any detail or perfect positioning. I'm just trying to sort of work out my concept so that I can see how the composition overall works, and then I can start going in and modeling the detail on each of those assets. So now I got these pieces done. I'm gonna go in and get those gutters ready. I'm just gonna go front view over here and select cylinder. It's gonna create a cylinder. Let's set the height to 10. Number of height segments just to 1, and the sides 20. Here we go. So I'm just going to convert this now to editable poly. Select the polygons here and delete everything at the bottom. So now I only have the top rim left. Just going to select these 2 edges over here, drag them down a little bit to make it slightly less half circly. And I'm going to add shell modifier to it, probably to about 4, maybe 5, 6. 6 is perfect. Here we go. And just going to drag those in. just roughly at the moment. I'm gonna reposition everything once I'm done, of course. So that's just sort of just to give me an idea what it's gonna look like. So again, I'm gonna add black wireframe to it and apply gray material. Here we go. I'm gonna select these now, duplicate it, rotate it 90 degrees, and put it on this side as well. Again, not perfect, just rough locations. Now, as you can see on my sketch here, I got a pillar over here, so I'm just gonna do that as well. Just gonna select one of those curbs here, just grab it right there, delete the bottom, delete some of the top ones. I'm trying usually to duplicate things instead of creating new ones because it's just slightly faster. So I'm just gonna shell that up, probably about 100 maybe. And maybe just scale it up a little bit. Here we go. That's perfect. Pillar over here. And just gonna create the walls now. So I'm gonna do the same thing again. Duplicate, delete the bottoms. I'm gonna delete some of those rows here. Shell that, right click, convert to editable poly, and here we got our walls. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect geometry or anything like that. It's just simply just to see what we're gonna have in the end here. So I'm just gonna move these, rotate this 90 degrees, move that piece of wall over here, and we're good to go. So here we got our white box ready. In the next lesson, I'm gonna start adding more detail into it in order to convert it into a base mesh for our ZBrush sculpting.